Hello, hola, bonjour, y bon dia. My name is April, and I'm so proud and excited to share my idea with you. Thank you for tuning in, and let's get started. I want to start by asking you to consider how telling the story of one company could bring the world together. I'll be presenting to you my cohesive vision I presented to Delta, my original concept from 2017, which is both creative strategy and social movement based on human experiences delivered through inclusive content. To understand how this all fits together, we need to start at the beginning. Delta Airlines was incorporated as Delta Air Services in 1928. The principal founder, C.E. Woolman, later became the company's first CEO. And on what it means to be an airline, he said, no one individual can create an airline. An airline is a team. Members of the Delta team have put the meaning in our slogan of service and hospitality from the heart through teamwork. Delta comes from the heart. Many decades later, in 2017, it seemed like things were moving in different directions. Recent events had created what seemed like a disconnect between airlines and the flying public. There seemed to be a real lack of understanding, frustration, and anxiety around flying, and a lack of understanding about what Delta people do and the impact things were having on Delta. I gathered and listened to feedback from my colleagues and incorporated my own experiences and discovered that if Delta shifted the focus on Delta people, that would align with what the company values, and it's something that also comes from the heart. All of the feedback and information led me to dig deeper and also ask the question, what is Delta? Which also sparked my vision. So, what is Delta? What makes Delta what it is? A few ideas came to mind. Is it the planes, the look of the uniforms, or the cabins? The familiar sounds like the jet engine, or maybe a feeling like when the plane's taking off? Is Delta a memory? I contend that Delta is all of these things and an experience manifested through collective actions. Collective actions from the hearts of our Delta family. And that is what really makes us fly. This is a little more about the Delta story. Delta serves over 200 million passengers a year to hundreds of destinations on 6 continents, and also supports and serves others by coming together to build playgrounds and houses and increase awareness. Has also been recognized and received awards for actions and inspires a great deal of respect, admiration, and trust, all of which is made possible through collective actions of Delta people who are so proud to be there. And it's not entirely surprising that others want to know more about them. Here are just a few more numbers to consider. On the global scale, Delta is one of 5,000 airlines in the world. I am one of over 80,000 in my company and one of over 20,000 in my field. So, how does one airline or one individual truly stand out? We can start by asking ourselves what we value most and what makes us different. That's the culture and people of Delta, the heart and spirit of Delta. And how does the company get others to understand this? Perhaps by asking and answering the question, who is Delta? We can answer this question by sharing our story with the world. After all, there is a lot of curiosity and interest in what Delta people do, how they do it, and every single flight also provides a captive audience. There's a potential to reach 200 million people every year. But how to share this story? One of the ways we get to know one another is by asking, where are you from? This is where many stories begin. And for some, it's a simple question. But for me, it never has been. As you know, my name is April, but do you know the rest of my Delta story? I was born in the South and had my first flight when I was 2 months old. I've been flying as much as I can ever since. I grew up on 3 continents. I speak 4 languages, served in the US Air Force, was part of a top secret assignment, deployed to the same country where I grew up. I'm a veteran, a graduate, a business owner, a mom, a stepmother, a wife, and a Delta flight attendant. My story isn't even a paragraph in Delta's story, which is composed of at least 80,000 fascinating stories. Because we all come from somewhere and we all have a story. Stories can bring us together. If we look to the past, we'll see a Delta story in a 1957 promotional movie called This is Delta, detailing Delta Flight 702, showing what Delta team members do best and providing a brief explanation about what they do. By taking a cue from our past, we could recreate a short film as an origin or central story, and then create a series about each of the individuals within the story through video shorts and Sky Magazine. Put the employees on the cover. Put the employees at center stage with authentic, human, relatable, and original stories about Delta, about our people. Let us show our favorite places, talk about our travels, our triumphs, giving back, and what makes us who we are. Compelling stories that will make others excited to see more, while also becoming familiar faces to them. Then, getting the public involved in a positive conversation through hashtag MyDeltaStory to share posts, pictures, and videos on social media. We can show our connection to the places we serve in the world and how interconnected we all are. We can truly experience our world together. Doing so would also inspire, captivate, educate, build appreciation, understanding, and relationships. There are opportunities to learn about each other and discover things we never knew. Building interest in our story, our communities, and our world by connecting through collective stories. C. E. Woolman said this about corporations. No passenger ever met a corporation. All that most passengers ever know about Delta are the reservationist's voice, the smile of the ticket agent, and the flight attendant's immediate interest in their comfort. Every employee has the power to destroy or uphold that tradition. So I ask, who is Delta? We are Delta. As hashtag My Delta Story grows, it becomes a globally inclusive experience as social media is flooded with amazing stories. My Delta Story is for everyone, building a connection between them and us so that it simply becomes us. My Delta Story is getting to know one another. One of my more recent Delta stories started on a flight when I was commuting to work. I got a seat on the flight and I was watching a show on the screen called Genius Picasso. In that episode, they were talking about the events that led to Picasso's blue period and also his rose period, showing art that I'd never seen and art that also didn't look like Picasso's. I later worked a flight that afternoon to Paris, and after I got there, I went to my favorite museum, the Musée d'Orsay, and found that they were doing an exhibit on Picasso's blue and rose period that day. It was amazing to think that the artwork I'd seen on the screen on the airplane was now there right in front of me a day later after I took another flight. And when other people find out that I work for Delta, they're also excited to share their stories. One that really stands out to me was from an individual who was flying through Atlanta the year Atlanta hosted the Olympics. And he had recently lost someone and was having a really hard time. He said when Delta employees found out, you know, what was going on, he said they went out of their way to care for him and make sure that he was comfortable. He said he still remembers how that felt over 20 years later. So think about how those 80,000 stories could grow by millions. After all, the world is watching, and rightfully so, because ours is a story as big as the world itself, and also why we should consider how our story fits into an even greater one. As I've worked on my Delta story over the last 3 years, I've shared the message one person at a time, and it's inspired regardless of experience, background, or age, be that person 12 or 70. It's time, I feel, to share this message on a greater level and to bring others on the journey with us. As Delta is both community and globally focused, my Delta story is about how we connect with the world by becoming truly globally minded and climbing to a whole other level. This is truly important right now as our world can feel very divided. And as Delta already physically connects the world, should it choose to connect with the world by doing my Delta story, it could become something greater. Whether Delta is bringing the world together one flight, one playground, or one story at a time, it's something that inspires others. People would choose Delta for greater reasons than simply going from A to B. The flight becomes a journey. That journey becomes part of the story. It gives people something to look forward to and something else to come back for so that they can continue the story of their own and be a part of ours. It's also something I believe business partners would really get on board with. so we could soar to new levels together. After all, C.E. Woolman did also say we have the opportunity to contribute in some measure to the cause of better international understanding. We can make this world a better place together. Making my Delta story a reality and bringing it to life starts by giving employees the opportunity to be a part of something amazing and then sharing the story with the world. After all, we are Delta, and this is our story. Together, we can achieve anything. Lastly, is a visual representation of what my Delta story could look like and what it could do. And I want to say thank you so much for watching. And wherever you are in the world right now, I wish you all the very best.